Globe and Mail reported that CSIS uncovered the Beijing Communist regime's plan to target Justin Trudeau in a foreign influence operation using the Trudeau Foundation. Back in 2014, a Beijing official was captured in a wiretap conversation with one of the Trudeau Foundation donors. That Beijing official instructed the donor to give the Trudeau Foundation up to $1 million and told him that the communist regime would reimburse him for the entire amount. Now, fast forward 7 months after Justin Trudeau became Prime Minister. The Liberal Party has a Cash for Access fundraiser for Justin Trudeau, and that same donor that was taking instructions from the regime in Beijing, he attended. And just weeks after that Cash for Access fundraiser with the Prime Minister, the Trudeau Foundation announced that that donor and another wealthy businessman would donate $1 million to the foundation. But since the Globe and Mail news story revealing that CSIS had uncovered Beijing's influence operation, the Trudeau Foundation felt they had to return the Beijing-backed donation after misleading Canadians about the source of that donation. In May, we learned at committee that in the 20 years at the Trudeau Foundation, the Prime Minister's brother, Alexandre Trudeau, has only ever arranged and signed for one donation, a $140,000 payment from Beijing that gained donors direct access to the Prime Minister, within 5 weeks of Justin Trudeau's brother signing off on that donation. We now know the Trudeau Foundation attempted to cover up the Beijing-backed donation and misled Canadians about where the money was coming from. This Beijing-funded influence operation targeting the Prime Minister that Canada's intelligence service uncovered in Globe and Mail news reports is only the tip of the iceberg. News reports on intelligence documents show that MPs and their families were also being targeted by Beijing operatives right here on Canadian soil. And one of the reasons the dictatorship in Beijing views Canada as a prime target for interference is our lack of a foreign agent registry. But Justin Trudeau has shown that he's not serious about foreign interference, and he even tried to cover it up. He denied the news reports at first, attacking Canada's free press and our intelligence services, blaming them for doing their job. He tried to shut down parliamentary investigations. And he tried to stack the review by appointing former Trudeau Foundation CEO Maurice Rosenberg to investigate foreign interference. The Prime Minister even failed to immediately expel the diplomat who was acting as an operative and targeting MPs and their families 2 years after the government became aware and a full week after this information became public. If that's not bad enough, he also appointed his ski buddy and neighbor, another Trudeau Foundation member, to advise him on if he should even have a public inquiry. But we know an open, independent public inquiry is the only way to credibly investigate Beijing's influence operation and interference in our democracy and to uncover what and when the government knew. Canadians deserve to be protected from foreign interference and threats from foreign regimes. They deserve full transparency so they can have confidence in our democracy and our institutions. I want to talk to you about the serious issue that we've been dealing with in Ottawa on foreign interference and what we learned about a fellow member of the team, MP Michael Chong, and his family being threatened by a foreign government. This is after hearing from members of the Chinese diaspora community who've been dealing with the same tactics from Beijing. We heard chilling stories about tires being slashed, threatening phone calls in the night, veiled threats about family members living abroad, the regime denying passports and visas. That this could even happen and that the government did nothing about it is deeply disappointing. Let's break down what happened. The only reason MP Chong found out was because of the Globe and Mail news reports on intelligence documents revealing that the Beijing dictatorship was targeting him and his family. The regime had an operative on Canadian soil who had diplomatic cover and diplomatic immunity awarded by the Liberal government. These intelligence reports were produced for Justin Trudeau's government, and he claims he never saw them. He claims he only found out from media reports, and senior members of his government questioned and disputed the intelligence reports, right up until Canada's intelligence service was allowed to confirm to MP Chong and his family that they were being targeted by a foreign government. This was appalling for us to learn, and it must have been even more difficult for Michael Chong. Why did the one person who has the power to stop it The head of our government, why did he choose to do nothing about it? The Prime Minister failed to immediately expel the diplomat who was acting as an operative on behalf of Beijing and targeting MPs and their family. 2 years after the government became aware, and a full week after this information became public. One of the reasons the dictatorship in Beijing views Canada as a prime target for interference is the absence of a foreign agent registry. Now, something the government can also do right now to protect Canadians of diaspora communities from intimidation and harassment is to shut down Beijing's illegal police stations that are operating on Canadian soil. An open, independent public inquiry is the only way to credibly investigate Beijing's interference in our democracy and to uncover what and when the government knew about this foreign interference. At the core of this, MP Chong and his family were threatened just because he was doing his job as a democratically elected representative. MPs come to Ottawa and get to vote in the House of Commons to represent you, the people, who send us here. And that's what MP Chong was doing, as were other parliamentarians who stood side by side with him, to speak up about human rights, to oppose wrongdoing, to call out a genocide, to tell the truth. That is the very right that we have as free people living in a free country. We must do more to protect our fellow citizens from threats, intimidation, and foreign interference. We need to fully investigate foreign interference, and we must hold those who are responsible accountable.